Is that a town thing? Like, is that a Wilton?
I called, building.
I'd go open the meeting for the public hearing on a solar array moratorium, local law number 1 of 2023. Now you're talking to Mike. Would anybody like to speak?
Yes, we have Ed Kukowski?
Come on right up to the mic. You got 3 minutes. We got a lot of people here.
You don't know me or know my name. I've lived here 36 years, so we don't have much of a problem My question is this, I'm curious regarding the moratorium primarily. And so my first thing is, does the moratorium apply to the Quaker Springs project?
The mic's not on.
The mic's not on. So it's switch over there.
Technology.
Hear me now?
Yes.
My first question is, does this moratorium apply to the Quaker Springs project? That means does that suspend the activities on that project?
The mic's not turned off.
You have to have it closer to you. You can pick it right up.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously,
So you
never
can
done karaoke.
pull it out towards you.
You can pull it right out there.
I know you have.
There you are.
A little bit of a singer. I might have to sing a song.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Huh? Yeah, motion to adjourn. Okay, so the first question I had was, does the moratorium apply to the Quaker Springs project? So if this moratorium goes into effect, I believe it's today, February 1st, it's a 6-month moratorium, and that means everything stops? So that's my question. Anybody know that?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
First off, there's not yet any moratorium, so it doesn't apply to anything yet. Second thing, the board is not going to be able to adopt a moratorium tonight, even if it wants to, because there's a step that has yet to be accomplished. So nobody knows the answer to your question. The moratorium doesn't yet exist, but it's not going into effect today.
I guess the thing I read that says it's a moratorium on certain, is that the title that says certain? And that's what,
Large scale.
huh?
Is that what you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what does that mean,
Yeah.
certain? That's why I'm thinking, is it an exception? Is it gonna be right across the board, everything that's happening with regard to solar? I mean, okay, it's not approved, but you've got it, well, that's something to say. You got it, I'm answering your statement too, So you made a statement that, well, we can't really answer my question because it's not approved, but I mean, when it's approved, is it gonna be? Is Quaker Springs gonna apply, or you just don't know?
I have no idea I'm just the town's attorney. I have the faintest idea what, if anything, they'll do.
Any answer, Ryan?
Hang on. But as drafted, as it was asked to be drafted,
Yeah.
if the moratorium is adopted, and that can't happen tonight, it says that the provisions of this local law shall be applicable to, let me back up a step.
Yeah.
As far as certain facilities, it's not proposed to encompass all solar facilities. So the reason it says certain facilities is it's proposed to encompass only those facilities as defined in here, which are essentially large-scale commercial facilities.
Oh, okay.
So it's not all solar facilities, and that's why the title is certain solar facilities. And as to your question about a particular project, the way it was requested to be drafted, what it says is, if adopted as written, who knows, but if adopted as written, it says the provisions of this local law shall be applicable to any such facilities meaning the large-scale commercial ones, as defined in the draft, for which applications are currently pending unless all necessary approvals have already been obtained from the Town of Wilton Planning Board. So if there's an application that does not yet have all approvals from the planning board, and this moratorium is adopted, and it's adopted as written, that's a lot of ifs.
Yeah.
But if those things happen, then unless it has all approvals from the planning board, it would be subject to the moratorium.
Okay.
If it has all approvals from the planning board, it would not be subject.
Okay, but this one does not have approval from the planning board yet.
Correct.
So, all right.
I hope that helps.
If all the ifs turned into yeses, then Quaker Springs will also fall into that moratorium period.
Well, let's be careful. Times the time may evolve, if that could change between now and the time of adoption. The point is, I don't want
I'm
you to...
73, I might not be here even in a week, you know? So
I'm
a lot of things can happen, you
68
know?
and I might be gone with you.
Yeah, so a lot of things can happen, my friend. I just need to know where we are now.
Don't take anything as a guarantee, that's all I'm saying. But yes, that's where we are now.
I understand, thank you. Okay, so solar farms are equipped to convert electrical power to high-line voltage. This particular project, I think, increases the voltage up to 13,000 volts. I thought I read. So I put it down here, but it may not be. But it's high-line voltage, okay? Now, this equipment, which is going to be, if I look at the drawings, which will be the majority of it, the equipment that does the conversion to the high-line voltage, it'll be a big piece of equipment, and it's basically sitting on the ground not far from Bob Marcello's house. So I have seen, because I am a plant engineer and I've worked in this type of field for a while with very high voltage, high line equipment, even bigger than this project, as far as megawatt power, I've seen them, when they don't catch on fire, they explode into a big fireball. That's how these things can fail. So it's a concern of mine, and I think that somewhere along the line, this should be looked at from a standpoint of fire safety, because when these things fail, and this is going to be their, what's the life of this project, 20 years? You know, roughly. So I'm not talking about 2 weeks after. I'm talking about maybe when my neighbor Marcello and his wife moved to Florida, and some other young people come in there and their kids are playing around back there. This is what's back there, okay? And it's a very big concern of mine. I don't think it belongs in that neighborhood at all. I'm opposed to it completely, I will say that. So then, along with that, is there's only one access to the property. It's over the top of the track for the plan. So my question is, how is the fire, you know, this is a big piece of electrical equipment, and say a fire starts out in the middle of it, and other things start burning, because I've seen it online that they can, or this piece of equipment I talked about here, if it fails, it's very high voltage. If it goes to ground, it turns into a fireball. So my question is what's the plan on that? Are the fire trucks, I don't see a lot of room, because really it's all filled up with, the whole property is filled up with solar panels. I don't see a lot of room for the fire trucks. Do they access over the tracks to get there and fight a major fire that could happen nearby our neighborhood? That's a concern of mine.
Well, usually if it caught on fire, you'd let it burn out. You wouldn't attack it.
What's that?
Usually if it caught on fire, you wouldn't attack it. You just let it burn.
Well, that leads me to my next problem, concern, okay? And it's toxic gases coming off of that fire, coming into our neighborhood. You get a fire of that magnitude and that kind of equipment, there'll be toxic gases coming into our neighborhood. So these are harmful, dangerous things that I'm concerned about. Let's see. Next thing is, I heard tell that our property values will fall by $30,000 per house. Maybe it's a little generous, maybe not. 36 homes, that's $1 million. Now that doesn't happen over time. That happens the day they put a shovel in the ground and start building this thing, you know? So we, as a group, lose $1 million and we gain zero on this project. And we have an eyesore right next to our property. And let's see. I know I'm talking only about Quaker Springs a little bit, but it's applicable to all the moratorium. I believe you guys are going to be studying this during this period.
That's why we...
So I'm bringing out everything I can think of.
That's why we're having it, so we can study it more.
I have been, good to hear. I've been involved with this only 3 weeks. And there was another thing I wanted to bring up. And it's about notification. There's probably rules related notification. You know, one of our neighbors got a certified letter, so that probably follows a certain rule and regulation, you know. But I know a lot of you people. I know this gentleman here, Ray O'Connor, from a long time ago. Used to watch him eat breakfast up at Scotty's every morning and read the paper.
I'm trying to live healthier now, so
Yeah, but this was back in the day, Debbie and I, we don't go to I don't want to say that. I support Scotty's, but we probably eat healthily too. I can't afford that, my calories either. But, I know a lot, you're all my neighbors and everything. John, I bought a car from him for my daughter a long time ago. So my thoughts on this is, I heard this first from Breen, from Mrs. Breen, and through the hearsay, a couple weeks ago. I look at the details of this project. This has been in the works for a long time. I wish somebody would at least stop by and give me a better notice of it than I have learned it this way. Groundwater contamination, I'm worried about that. There could be toxic fluids, and also these panels need to be cleaned often because they build up. Where's the water go when they clean them? They just hold them off? Blah, blah, blah. Do they collect it? So the only thing I said is we get to need a little better notification. I'm really disappointed in the way I was notified by this thing, the way it came around. I do support the moratorium, but I do not support the proposed Quaker Spring project. That's for sure. It's just too close to our neighborhood. So in summary, solar farms should be built on existing landfills, I believe, large roof commercial or industrial rooftops. Maybe these big, distribution centers, those roofs, throw it up on top of that, everyone would be happy. Next to junkyards, I've heard of them built, or in parking lots, but not next to housing developments like this one, this Quaker Springs is proposed, and I think that should be considered very seriously in a moratorium. I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Deb Kukowski.
Yeah, I like to be fair with you, but it's 3-minute time limit.
and also out of respect for, we have a long list of people that want to speak, so we want to make sure that everybody gets their opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. I want to talk about winners and losers. As it stands now, the winners are the town of Wilton, Lou Ferrone, and Joseph O'Brien. The town gets more tax revenue. Mr. Ferrone gets a monthly increase, monthly income as property owner, and he'll probably cut down all 13 acres of wood and sell that as well, decimating our forest land. But most troubling is Mr. Joseph O'Brien, who is the other landowner and is also the chairman of the zoning board for the town of Wilton. Isn't this unethical and just plain wrong? We elected him to represent us. Now he's making personal gain. His lack of concern for our neighborhood is at best disturbing. And another thing about Mr. O'Brien, which I'm worried about, is the influence he has on the other members, being the chairman. And I don't care if he's recused himself or not. He's probably got sway with them. The only loser in this project is us, our neighborhood. Knollwood Drive, the paddocks, and Wilton, the natural environment. I see Conard butterflies in my backyard. We take walks in that property back there that they're going to decimate. We've seen moose. It's bad enough that, much of our neighborhood natural land is being destroyed by deforestation. Look at the Forest Grove development. My God, now they want to destroy more lands for a solar farm that is known to harm. We live in a neighborhood that has babies, children, older people. We're concerned about our health. I grew up in Pittsburgh, where they built the nuclear power plants nearby. They said the same thing at the time. Oh, there wasn't any concerns, nothing to worry about. 20 years later, everybody was getting cancer from what was released in the air and the water. We have well water. I'm all for solar farms. I am. But it should not be in any neighborhood. We all want to be winners. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Susan Wyckoff.
Good evening. I live at 10 Knollwood Drive, and I also own 45 Knollwood Drive. I am totally for the moratorium until you guys can figure this out. I think it's unsafe, doesn't need to be near a neighborhood with children and my grandchildren. I'm really worried about that. I agree with everything that Ed and Debbie said previously. And I hope you take into consideration, maybe move on my block. How would you feel? Thank you.
Thank you.
Agnes Wyckoff. Angus, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I finally get to meet the person I write checks to all the time.
Thank Agnes.
Hi, I'm Susan.
Thank you for that, too.
I'm here.
No problem. You should be doing very well. Anyway,
Fortunately, not her bank account.
Yeah, not mine.
Signs it as
I
Agnes,
know that the
right?
board has a lot to consider when dealing with solar farms. And I just want to add one thing more, which is if you folks were to approve this Quaker Springs project, you then have the danger of setting a precedent. This is 100 feet from residential homes, and I think if you did end up approving that, you would then open the door to more solar farms or other businesses coming into somewhere else in Wilton County and saying, well, I can be within 100 feet of residential homes. So I think, it's a little bit of a slippery slope. You have to be careful about setting precedents, I think. I know you're aware of that.
Right, you're right.
I understand. You're absolutely aware of it. And the last thing is, last Thursday we had a meeting with the town board there, and prior to that meeting, the applicant on the Quaker Springs project had one of his people go around in the neighborhood in Knollwood Drive, knocking on people's doors and asking them or telling them not to come to the meeting.
Did you get that person's name? Does anybody have that name?
Yeah, so I'm the owner of Renewable Energy, and I have to say, if you're going to make claims like that are unsubstantiated without anyone standing up and saying that we said that to him or her, that's unfair. We did not say that to anyone, and to just make anonymous claims like that's bad business. The town should not allow that to happen. That's a smear campaign. We told people, and we went to 17 houses in the town of our own volition. We didn't have to do that. We did that to be a good neighbor, okay? And we went there proactively to hand out information on the project because we didn't want people to hear about it in the mail or through some indirect source. So we're trying to do the right thing and treat other people like we want to be treated. And the only thing that hold on one second, because you're making accusations.
He has the floor right now, so you can, if you want to speak, I'm sorry, but if you want to speak, you got to sign up. We'll let you speak. We'll let you have your time. But right now, he has his. We understand your concerns, but we will allow you to speak.
Well, if it isn't true, then I'm sorry. If it is,
that's an unfair accusation.
He just apologized.
If it isn't true, if it is true, then it's really very unethical behavior.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Thank you.
Can you say something?
No.
Okay.
No.
My house, it was a woman from Solar Farm. What's her name? Company.
We need your name and address. And
Hang on a
Gotta be on
second.
the list. It's not a free-for-all here.
Yeah, we don't want this to get out of control.
Yeah, the public comment
We're going to
period.
listen to everybody.
People have signed up. We should take those people in the order in which they signed up. And this is not intended to be a debate, whether it's a debate between the board and the audience or among audience members. It's an opportunity for people to stand up at the microphone and tell us what your concerns are about the moratorium. Yes, Council.
you might also consider making sure that people understand that this is not a public hearing about a particular project.
Right,
A.
it's a moratorium.
B, the town board does not have regulatory authority over the application that the people are upset about. So the town board doesn't have the authority to approve or deny approval of the application that people seem upset about. And most importantly, what's proposed is the town board is contemplating adopting a moratorium. And the purpose of the public hearing is to get people's comments on the proposed moratorium, not about a particular project for which an application is not pending before this board, but is pending before the planning board and the zoning board of appeals. So there are very, very appropriate places to make those comments, but that's not the purpose of this public hearing from the legal perspective.
Yeah, but don't all these problems support the need for a moratorium?
You know what I was just saying about this is not supposed to be a debate.
Could we have Eric Anderson, please?
Hello everyone, my name is Eric Anderson. I am a solar developer. I'm not associated with the Quaker Springs project, separate project, but still a solar developer in the town of Wilton. I have a master's degree in environmental policy. I've worked with a lot of towns in the Hudson Valley and Capital Region on their comprehensive plans, on their solar laws as well. I would just like to say there's immense benefits from solar, and just like any other commercial or residential or any use, not everything should be treated the same. Applications should be treated individually. I know that our project that we've been working on for over a year, we've sought approval from the town of Wilton extensively. We've worked with the DEC, we've worked with National Grid, we've worked with a lot of folks to make sure that our project is viable, is in compliance with local law, and is a right fit for the community. What I asked today, I understand a moratorium is being considered. I ask that the board consider incorporating a hardship waiver into the law. A hardship waiver would allow a potential applicant to make their case to the town board for exemption from the moratorium. Like I said, I think that this is more of an objective thing. It doesn't necessarily guarantee the right to be exempted from the moratorium. It just gives us the opportunity to make our individual case here. I can't speak for other players in the community, but as a solar developer, I stand by our project. I really think it deserves its place as a business. And I'd love to talk to anybody that wants to learn more about solar. I truly believe in it, and I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and you know, I'll be out here if you want to talk. I really think it's the best thing, and for our state, for our federal government, for our local communities, benefits a lot of people, and there's a lot more benefits than I can say in 3 minutes. So thank you for the opportunity to speak, and hopefully I get to talk to some of the folks here soon. Thank you.
We didn't hear you. That's not even appropriate. Could we have Bob Marchillo, please?
I don't need to. Yeah. We can't.
Excuse us, we have a speaker.
Hi, I had all kinds of information.
Can you speak into the mic because the recording won't pick it up?
Okay. I had a lot of information that I brought, but I've been pouring through a lot of the town board's agenda and documents and meetings, and there are people on the board who have talked very frankly with each other about the solar law. Ryan, you're in there a lot. Mr. O'Connor, Bill O'Connor is not in there. John, you're in there a lot. And it seems to me no one's really sure. They mentioned this solar moratorium. It could be shorter, it could be longer, depending on circumstances. When I came in the first time, I talked to Ryan, and you were very helpful. You pulled out the plans and said, he goes, yeah, we're going to possibly have a moratorium, which I told everybody in the neighborhood that you were considering it anyways, and it was over the height and of the panels, 13 feet. Now they're asking up to 20. But I know Mr. O'Connor can I just enter this into the record and post it? It's already been posted once. This is the letter from Bill O'Connor. And I'll read the last paragraph in it.
That must be my cousin.
I think I have time. Every effort should be made to site solar arrays on developed properties, including commercial and industrial sites, parking lots, commercial and industrial rooftops, capped landfills, and developed municipal properties. It's about that. I think I sent links to all that on there. And in fairness, I remember when, Dave, and you were at my door, I was there with my grandkids babysitting. It was really cold. I wasn't feeling good, and I know I didn't give you the time of day. That's when you handed me one of the brochures and said, if you have any questions, give me a call. But I didn't get anything formal until January 10th, which was the same day the letter was written. And only the people on the far western side that actually touched the property got those letters. And this is a small little neighborhood, 43 houses. So, I know some of you are for it and against it, plus the impact. We have deer come through there all the time, and every winter, because I walk that too, I see all the deer tracks coming out to eat everybody's shrubs every winter. Now, they have to go along the outside of that fence. They're going to be walking right on top of my property, on top of everybody's property. And I love deer. I love when I'm driving up past exit 15 and you see them all out in the field in front of the billboards. It's great, but this is not a good fit for a neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tamara Wilson?
I'm going to give my time to Virginia. Virginia.
Oh, there it is.
So I was just going to say that...
Excuse me, could I have your full name?
Virginia Leone, Leone.
And your address, please?
43 Knollwood.
Thank you.
Okay, so on January 26th, a rep from the company came, knocked on my door, came in, she had some papers and whatnot, and we just got talking, and I mentioned that there was a meeting that night, and she said, that's not important. She said, it's just going to be about a variance, there's really not much going on, and I don't know why anybody would go. So, to me, that was discouraging somebody not to go to the meeting that they were able to go to. She didn't say don't go, but she did say there's not much going on. We're just going to be talking about a variance, and not a big deal. So I just thought that was kind of misleading, and so I just kind of wrote it in an email to the neighborhood, and that's about it. We did talk a little bit. I asked her about the new neighborhood that's going in across from us. She didn't know anything about it, which I thought was very strange. She said, oh, really? She says, is that why they put the circle in? And I said, yeah. I said, there's going to be, I don't know, upwards of 300 houses there. But I felt kind of, misleading that she didn't really know that neighborhood was going in when this project is so close. So that was just another thing. But anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what I heard.
Carolyn, excuse me, Marcello?
Hi, my name is Carolyn Marcello. I've lived in this, 39 Knollwood Drive. I've lived in this community. I built our house since 1989. We picked out the lot because we love the land. We love Wilton. My kids went through here. I actually worked in the school and I worked in a local hospital. I just love Wilton. This is very disturbing to me. You can see there's a lot of people that are concerned. I know, I'm not really sure with the moratorium. I understand that is a moratorium different than a debate, but I do have so many concerns. And my concerns are, can we ask questions after this? Sure. And how would we find out about this? Because I haven't been sleeping. I've been coming up and I write down the questions when I get down. My husband just said he loves the deer. Well, I just saw our next door neighbor that there's coyotes all over. There's sightings all over. Not a big deal. That's okay. But that will be right next to our house too. Do I want a coyote next to my house? Not really. We got kids and everything like that. I have health and safety concerns. I know you guys have checked out things as well as the solar company, but I've read things on how they make the panels, the cadmium and the lead and the shield. There might be a minimal leak into our well water. Well, what about if it breaks? Who's out there to check it? There are specs out there all the time. This is the water we drink. We have kids. They take lead out of paint for kids. What about if I give my grandkids all of the water that I drink? And they get sick. What's going to happen? Who's going to be responsible? My land goes way in the back. I have a couple 100-year-old trees on my property. Couple hundred. They're huge. I don't want to get rid of them on my property. Will they have to be gone? Is that part of the project? It's my property. That's why I picked up the land. And I have so many questions. That's all I can say. I do love Wilton, and I do appreciate you guys having this forum for listening to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy McCabe?
Hi, Cindy McCabe, 27 Old Drive. My concerns, I have nothing against solar. My concern is where it's going and how it's going to affect our neighborhood. There has been an incident in California where solar panels were devastated and it put out cancerous emissions. We've had a couple of small tornadoes go behind our properties, which will affect the solar panels. We have a high level of water, we have wells, it's all going to be affected. That's what my concerns are. And that's it.
Thank you.
Dave Byrne?
No. I'm going to use my stopwatch so I can be respectful of people's time. Okay?
Thank you.
Ready? Go. My name's Dave Byrne with Renew Energy. We're up on exit 17. We're a combat veteran-owned small business. And first of all, I want to allow use of my employee to address this confusion that occurred with communication. Okay?
Just wanted to state for the record that I did not discourage anybody from coming to planning board meetings and the zoning board meeting. As a matter of fact, I encouraged you, some of you to come. I think Virginia, you misunderstood me completely. I tried to explain what the different types of meetings were that were in the queue, and that this one was only for the variance that you were requesting. So you took that to mean that it was not worth coming to. I apologize that you felt that way, but it is not at all the intention. That is not what I said. Hopefully that was only 10 seconds.
Can I ask a question?
No. So I want to address these valid concerns. I think the overarching concern of people in the town is that people also don't want solar popping up everywhere. And I live one exit north, and I have that same position, and I am in the solar industry. I don't want solar popping up everywhere because that impacts the quality of life for residents and has a significant impact on the community. So we always try to find good projects. And before I get into that really quickly, I just wanted to show the board that we did a basic study here of what capacity is available for solar development in the town of Wilton. So what you'll see here within the pink area is the town of Wilton. And if you look at this key here, you'll see that red basically allows for little to no capacity. Green allows for little capacity. Dark blue allows for a lot of capacity. Much of the town's zoning does not allow for solar. So that's R1 zoning. Solar is not a permissible use at commercial or light utility scale. The green here could be utilized for solar, and if you look at this key, it says 1 to 1.49 megawatts. So When you look at the projects that have gone through the interconnection process with the utility, this is a long process that is very costly and involved with the utility company. The projects that are being proposed only allow, based upon what we can tell, based on zoning limitations as well as the grid capacity limitations, for one project along that green line and a very small project that would not be viable along that yellow line. So I wanted to share this with the town so you understand that there are limitations based upon the grid capacity. We want to work on good projects. We found this one location that we think is viable, and we're happy to address any concerns moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
George? Roy, is it? Maybe? Maybe that's what it says?
If that's what you insist on.
I guess I'll be the minority here because I've been here for almost 20 years. It seems like everyone was talking about the Quaker Springs project. I don't know about that. So if you're mad about that, I'm sorry. I don't know about that. But I do border one of the projects they're looking for. They're going to be in my backyard, pretty much. I do support that. So I do not support the moratorium. I do support the project behind my home. I've talked to them extensively. I've gone through things with them. They've answered my questions. If you give them the time, they will talk to you. You ask them questions, they will answer it. I prefer that than 300 homes behind my house, and that'll drive my property to garbage. So I support solar rather than continuing to throw up more and more houses that don't get filled, be honest, and keep doing more apartments that don't get filled. So they're just sitting there and doing nothing. Thank you.
Are you on well water?
No, that's...
You can have the floor, please. You're real smart ass. So are you, sir? I didn't say anything mean to anyone in here, but the two older gentlemen here want to talk up.
Excuse me, ladies, gentlemen.
Mr. Fox, please.
It's a public comment period for folks who have signed up.
Mr. Funk, Jack Funk.
I'd like to address the board as the owner of 4930 Route 50. I'm the owner of that piece of land on which we're developing a solar farm. I've been working with Eric to do so. We've tried to address any comments by our neighbors, and as a part of the process, have applied for our permits to the town board. The town planning board. After our submission, we learned of this moratorium, and it obviously affects our development and our time frame. And that impacts me as a landowner. It sounds we're just sort of learning about the broader issues that brought everyone here tonight, and it sounds like maybe they more pertain to projects that are not the one that we've been working on. But I wanted to just sort of stand and speak in opposition to the moratorium, or failing that, second Eric's suggestion that the board consider a hardship waiver as an option for certain projects to sort of plead their case to you guys on an individual basis. So thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Latella, please.
Good evening, members of the board. John Latella, 104 Milton Avenue. I'm obviously a resident of Saratoga, and I simply wanted to state that I stand opposed to the moratorium. Simply put, I think that solar development is positive for our community, and I stand in support of its continued permitted use without any further additional regulation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Tony Sturm.
Hi, Tony Sturm, 41 Parkhurst Road. I want to clarify that I'm in favor of a brief moratorium, a 3 to 6 month interval where the town can craft carefully and thoughtfully and based on science their plans for moving forward on this whole topic. Clearly, it's a very contentious issue. I am in favor of large-scale solar developments as long as the issues that have been brought up tonight and at other meetings are considered in crafting the codes and the zoning. I think some of these issues include greater penalties or fees, if you want to call it, for clear-cutting woods. That seems to be something everyone can gather behind. Protection for sensitive areas, outright bans perhaps on large-scale farms in certain areas, whether it's near a housing development or an environmentally sensitive area. Also consider more appropriate setbacks for visual protection as well as other benefits. If you had a 100-foot setback, the deer would not necessarily be tromping in your yard. They would still have enough room. Consider variable fees to steer developments to areas that are more appropriate, like commercial rooftops, already paved over parking lots, landfills. And that's it. I'll end there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tori.
No one's in there anyway.
Would anybody else like to speak? Come on up. 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Laura Larico. I'm at 71 Edie Road. I'd like to speak in favor of solar as well. I think I'm not necessarily in favor of a moratorium, but I am in favor of good planning, so if that helps us get there, I think that's a good thing. We have a very nice solar code. A lot of thought was put into it a few years ago, so I think we have a good existing code already. I encourage you to look at it. There's lots of regulations. This isn't a free-for-all in solar, so there's some good information there. I think it's important to realize that this land isn't conservation land. It's open to, it's zoned for all types of development. Solar is one of the cleaner, quieter neighbors. It's also a temporary use, so it's completely removed at the end of life. So it's better than some other types of development. If we do go forward with the moratorium, I think it's a good opportunity to look into the code. A lot has changed in 5 years. There's a lot of benefits that the town can get for this. For community solar, that translates into lower utility costs for local residents. It's also taxes and benefits that come to the town as well, and the school district. A lot of our neighboring municipalities have done this, and they have experience, so this gives us a chance to sort of shop around, look at what our neighbors have done, and see how we can translate that into money, into benefits for our town. And honestly, this is the way that it's going in New York State, so if we don't generate our own energy independently in our own town, we're going to end up buying it from our neighbors, so this gives us a chance to lower our costs. Building off of what Tony said, there was some discussion on tree and green space preservation. I think that's really smart, and I think this is also part of the climate change solution that Mr. O'Connor was talking about. Solar is a long-term solution. Solar lets us have clean energy. With the climate warming, our trees like maples are actually dying and moving north. So it is part of a long-term solution, even if we have to cut some trees to get there. But including conservation and preservation overlays, I think would be really smart, including some wildlife corridors, making sure we're preserving really meaningful parts of land so we have useful ecosystem services, not just sort of scraps of land that aren't really supporting deer, they're not really supporting as a carbon sink. So if we're doing a moratorium, it gives us a chance to really look at this, see where we want to preserve land, see where we can develop land, see where we can put solar on currently developed land as opposed to cutting trees, but finding that balance. So I'd like to ask that the moratorium really has clear goals for what we'd like to get out of our code update, and I'd like to suggest that 3 of them could be economic benefits for the town, energy independence, local energy generation for utility, lowering our utility costs, and ecosystem preservation and conservation. Ecosystem services, preservation, and ecosystem conservation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody else.
Come on up.
I'm Mary Dell. I live at 23 Nola Drive. It'll be behind my house. A couple things. When Tom and I moved into the neighborhood, we had the trifecta. We have a railroad, we have the Northway, and then I saw those billboards coming in my window. I feel like Wilton, we're building it, and we've got that new development that's caused the roundabout. We've got a lot going on in a very little space, and that does concern me. And Wilton is about building apartments, developments. I just don't know how we could fit it all on this little piece of property. And my biggest concern is, and it's all the neighbors, when a 200-car train, freight train, drives by our neighborhood, our houses shake. And they shake, every one of them shakes. So I'm thinking of these solar panels on arrays moving, and all that shaking they're going to get every day, every year, over time, things are going to go wrong because that train will shake them like it shakes our house. It doesn't seem like it makes sense to me. Thanks.
One more, John.
Dave, can I ask you a question? That's his name, Dave?
David.
You're Dave?
Yes.
You know, I'm trying to always educate myself on these things, and there's a lot of these in the states, in the state. How are they bankrolled? They finance or state grants or?
So there's a lot of different stakeholders. You have a developer who finds the land, and typically the developer will either build the project themselves, self-finance, or they'll bring on investors, and they may sell the project as well to an investor. There are state grants, but they were depleted, then they were replenished, they're decreasing again. There is a federal tax credit, and then aside from that, it's really just trying to build it efficiently so you can produce energy at a lower rate. So anyway, to answer your question, sir, there's sponsor equity, there could be tax equity investors. These are pretty complex financial structures that are built around some of these.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Got one more over there, John.
I'd be happy to answer further questions about financing as well, to the extent that that's helpful. Yeah.
I'm listening.
Yeah, there's also debt involved,
right.
you didn't mention, so yeah, typically we go to a bank.
I know, usually you do something, costs you money to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Come on up.
My name is Oksana Naumkin. I live at 4 Norwood Drive. I have nothing against solar and, everything, trying to save the environment and everything like that. But my concerns are, first of all, it's still, nobody had asked that question, but my concern over solar is, we still don't have such a new project, and nobody's talking about how do we recycle those, where they're going to be recycled. So that could pollute the planet even more. Second of all, on the cost, lowering cost of our energy, we're still on the grid, and we're going to be on the grid for a while until solar develops or wind, whatever develops. And who's to say that, for example, okay, we live in the North Country, how much sun are we going to get? So second, and we're saving a few dollars a month, but who's to say National Grid is not going to raise our rates?
Seasonable weather.
To match up what they're losing. And that's my second concern. And also, just to say about the neighborhood that's being built, like many people said here, we live on a well. I totally noticed a difference in taste of our water when they started digging over there and building over there. Not everybody has a filter, built into their property. And it's already kind of that development is already affecting our lifestyle. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Somebody want to make a motion, close public hearing?
Make a motion to close.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public hearing number 2, opting out of exception, New York State RPPL local law number 2, 2023.
Is anybody, Julie?
Anybody signed up to
signed up
speak?
for that? No.
We can't hear you guys.
We just, the second public hearing we're on, and no one has signed up to speak.
Would anybody like to speak?
It's supposed to start at 7:01.
We want to make a motion, close the...
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. I'd like to have a pledge of allegiance starting our...
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a roll call, please, Sue.
I didn't even bring her with me. All right. Supervisor Lant?
Here.
Deputy Supervisor McEachran?
Here.
Councilwoman Colligan? Here. Councilman Bogardus?
Here.
Councilman O'Connor?
Here.
Public comments, anybody signed up to speak?
Yes, we have Laura Lorenko. You're good? Okay.
Anybody else signed up?
Where's the gavel? Gavel.
Get it moving.
Hey, folks, folks, we have to get through the rest of the
We want to
meeting.
keep the meeting going if you give us some peace and quiet.
Excuse me.
If you want to converse, please go out to the other room, because we've got to get through the rest of the agenda.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Make a motion, we approve.
Everybody get a chance to read last month's minutes. Any questions?
I make a motion, we approve the
I
minutes.
had a correction, sent it to Sue, just small.
Fix that small correction.
Well, it said I made the motion and seconded it. You said, wouldn't it be great if, I mean,
Yeah, we get things done a lot quicker.
That's what I said.
You voted on it twice.
Yeah.
So you got a motion second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I motioned it.
Thanks.
I just did. Motion and second.
We got the bylaw amendment for Park and Rec Commission. You all had a chance to read it?
I think this was originally looked at maybe in November, and then they didn't have a meeting, and then
Which by law we
this one, Park and Rec.
Didn't you make some changes?
Yeah, there's some subtle changes that were made that basically,
Are they in print?
they're good. They're, they wanted more leverage on Mark, and Mark's in charge of the park. They're
Advisory.
they're only they're
Advisory.
advisory committee, period.
All right, good.
That's it.
So they have no regulatory authority.
Negative. They did make mention about other parks in the area. If
Somebody want to make a motion to accept that?
I
do.
Motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. We have a
Keep it up,
couple,
we'll send Marcus out there.
we have Brett Hemner would like to resign from the Wilton Planning Board and Jim Deloria from the Zoning Board.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignations of Mr. Hebner and Mr. Deloria with regret.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Local Law 2 of 2023, opting out of exemption, New York State, RPT, Section 487. This is what...
I'll make a motion, we approve opting out of the exemption, New York State, Section 487.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Special permit for senior housing, have to set a public hearing and referral to SCPB. Scott, you gonna speak?
Yeah, I forgot I listened to how quiet it was.
Hey, good evening. My name is Scott Lansing with Lansing Engineering, representing the Markstone Group. What we're here for this evening is to ask the board to set a public hearing and refer this to the county for review. My understanding is we also need a height variance, so I believe the town board may have to refer this project to the zoning board as well. And I'll leave that up to the town for the discretion on what they'd like to do. Just quick background on the project. It's located at 4029 Route 50 south of Ingersoll Road. This is Route 50. Ingersoll Road is in this area, approximately 29.98 acres. It is currently zoned C1. There is an existing gift shop located in approximately this area. There are some DEC wetlands located on the western side and southern side of the parcel. What is being proposed is a senior living community. There are 3 buildings that are proposed. Each one of the buildings would be 130 units each. There would be 4-story buildings for a total of 390 units total. Access to the project would be private access way, access roads. Nothing is proposed for dedication to the town, so nothing would have to be owned, operated, or maintained by the town. We do have primary access on Route 50. There is an emergency access, which is not shown great on this rendering. It is shown a little better on the plan down below, but there is a secondary emergency access road up on the northern portion of the site. Parking space, the town does require 1 space per unit, 1 space per employee. That works out in our calculations to 435 spaces. We have 492, so we can work with the planning board to potentially bank some of those spaces or leave those, but we do exceed the parking requirements for the town. As I mentioned, there is a height variance that would be required. The town code outlines a 55-foot high max height, with 20 feet of that being unoccupied. So 35 feet occupied, 20 feet unoccupied. We're proposing a 4-story structure, which would bring us in the 44-foot range for occupied structure. So we would have to go to the ZBA for consideration of that particular variance. As far as setbacks, area requirements, we meet all of those other area requirements except for the height of the structure. There was a request to try to push the project back a little bit from 50. We have done that. We feel we can maintain some of that existing vegetation along the Route 50 area. As far as green space, 25% is required. Right now we're showing 73%, so we far exceed that requirement. Stormwater would be managed on site. We conceptually have stormwater management areas shown throughout the project. Would be public water, public sewer through the Wilton Water Sewer Authority. As far as amenities, I did want to go through those. As far as sidewalks and trails, there are sidewalks connecting all the buildings to one another. There's also a trail system which we're showing around the outside of the project, and there are opportunities to link that trail system to other trail systems around the parcel. Driveway lights, driveway trees, so around the driveways going around the parcel, we are proposing trees and lights around those areas. As far as recreational activities, we have bocce ball, putting green, dog park, community gardens, pickleball, tennis, as well as outdoor amenity areas. I just leave those areas, passive active recreation, open space areas scattered throughout the parcel. As far as indoor amenities, are proposing meeting rooms, gym, game room, kitchenette areas, just general gathering areas for the residents of the project. And last but not least, transportation services. That is something that my understanding is a requirement in the code, and the applicants are fully supporting that, and they'll provide transportation shuttle from the facility to different destination points around the community. Yeah, that's essentially it. Just want to go through the concept of the plan. We have had an informal meeting with some of the town board members. We did have a planning board meeting as well. In my opinion, I think the project has been received by those different town personnel. And we're here for board's questions and comments. We can hold them into the plan, ask for a public hearing, and referral to the county, and I think the ZBA as well. Thank you very much.
Are you any questions for Scott?
Is this purely independent living?
Correct.
That's my question.
The purpose of the height.
Signing up?
Just like Prairie Road.
Someday?
He's not eligible. He's not eligible yet.
Save your room?
Yes, he is.
What's the purpose of the height? I just hate seeing 4-story buildings coming into town.
Yeah, the 4 stories, we still feel will be within the 55 feet, so we're still within the max height. We're just asking for a variance on that occupied space within that 55.
And how much of that space out of the 20 feet are you gonna be using? All of it?
We're estimating about 44 feet out of the 55 feet, so another 9 feet above what is outlined.
If you stayed within the code, how many units would you lose on that top floor?
We'd have to take a look at that. I think we could probably end up with the same number of units. Everything would just spread out a little more. The four-story concept works well for the applicants. It's something that they've done in the past.
I'm more concerned about what it's gonna create outside of this project when we go 4 stories, because that opens up another avenue for other people coming into town. Well, they did it, they went up and they use it. Why can't we? In an area where it's not, where it doesn't sound nice like this project. And that's what I'm afraid to open that box up.
I understood. We did have a meeting with emergency services, ambulance and fire, and they seem to be in support, or they didn't seem to have issues with that or whatever that's for.
Because I know we just had we rezoned in the hamlet and dropped that from the 55 feet. We lowered it even lower than that, just for other reasons. And here we're gonna allow it. And it just seems strange to me. That's
Understood. Yeah, our thought is that we feel it's special because it is a senior community. It is along Route 50, one of the main corridors in the town. So we thought perhaps that would be something that the board consider.
okay. Thank you.
Anybody else got any questions?
Yeah, I know the Councilman McEachran's concerns about the 4 stories. I share
Fire.
that.
I mean, we got 2 fire departments without, I mean, if you're talking 55 feet, 1.5 times the collapse zone, you're not gonna be able to, there's just, I mean, is it sprinkled? Or it will be sprinkled? At least that's a plus. But
4 stories is pretty tall. I know.
Height is just gonna, to me, it's, and that goes to the zoning board. That goes to the zoning board for,
I'm just not sure which board would refer it at this point.
Yeah, because we have an unusual situation here where we have different special use permits, some of which are subject to the town board's authority, some of which are subject to the planning board's authority, and some of which are subject to the ZBA's authority. So I don't know.
The ZBA, I'm just concerned about that height going to the ZBA. That's,
Yeah, no, I
would think that would be more.
We know which board has the authority on the height.
Yeah, so the first action is to get the, special permitted use. That has to happen before any other actions. And I'm thinking, get that process started, and the planning board could refer it to the ZBA.
Well, if there's an answer to John's question, one of the boards has the authority to grant the height variance. We just don't know, while we're sitting here right now, I just don't know which one.
I'd be interested in finding out which one, because that's my only concern is the height. I love the project, believe me, everything about it. I just don't want to set a...
Nash was, the elevators, they said as long as the elevators...
No, I get that. I'm not, this project, I'm not concerned with this project. I'm concerned with other projects that, when we allow it to happen here, it just opens up that box I don't want to deal with. Because one of the things I changed on that last the zoning change was to lower that height to try to slow things down in Wilton. Wilton's just exploding. And here we're gonna grant it, and I'm curious to who has the authority on that, and if it's planning, ZBA or us.
Now, this is permitted use.
And if it can be done without the height, extending the height, then to me, I would much rather see it.
They were held 3.
Without the,
Is there a code guideline on the number of units per acre for senior housing?
Not with senior housing.
Okay. So I was thinking was it the Springs at Saratoga? How many units per acre does that have?
Springs? You mean, which one?
The one off of,
Perry?
Yeah, Perry Road.
Yeah. Just lost the name of that. What's the name of that? Summit.
The Summit
Yeah.
at Saratoga.
Yeah, Summit.
There you go. Springs, so it has something to do with Saratoga.
Summit, yeah.
I think there's, top of my head, 120 units maybe? I have to look up that one again.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what the size.
So this is like 4 times the size of the summit?
It's 3 floors.
This project?
And this project's, I mean, like Scott said, they have 73% green space.
No, I love everything about the project.
There's plenty of room to expand, to bring that down
But I
to
think
3 floors.
you could
and
open it
expand
up
it.
and then drop it down and keep it without
Make it
without
more
opening up.
squatty and bigger.
Right, without opening up Pandora's box. I mean, that's my only concern is that height brings in a lot of outsiders.
Do you think this is something the developer and everybody would be accommodating to?
I can review that with them. They were really set up.
I know I sat in with a meeting.
A lot of people are, but that's my concern is when you bring in that, they start bringing in these outsiders, next thing you know, we got a city in the middle of Wilton. And
I know I sat in with a meeting with you as far as emergency services, and I mean, in theory, it's within the capabilities of the local fire department, but in reality, I mean, we're trying not to become 4, 5, 6-story town. I mean, again, my meeting with you was as far as emergency services, but my meeting here as a town councilman is, I prefer 3 stories myself, only because we don't want to go 4, 5, 6 stories high. I mean, it's just not within the town. I mean, we put limitations on other projects that wanted 4 stories, and we put those limitations as well.
Quite a few times.
Yeah, if you can go back to your people, I'll call them, and suggest maybe lowering the height of the building and spreading it out, you have a lot of room to be able to do that and still make it look appealing and pleasant as it is.
You know, one thing again with the height is the code does outline a 55-foot height. We feel we can stay within that 55-foot height. It's just extending that occupied space. So we're
shrinking the top.
Consolidate the units, and we're not taking up more green space, having more impact than green space. So that's the primary reason. So I understand you're concerned about the story, but essentially it would be the same height or within the height limitations, if that makes sense. So that was the thought or justification for it. You know, to be honest, the applicant did 55 feet. They thought maybe they could be 5 floors. And reduce it down to the 4 and try to work a little closer to that occupied space forever. So we're just looking for more or less an adjustment in the occupied space, not the overall height. So
Right.
We're looking at it as a net neutral as far as the height and occupied space.
So I think you said the empty space was going to be about 11 foot, I think you said.
Correct, yes.
I was just asking Ryan, so Park Place on Route 9 is 3 stories, but still 55 feet.
They went right to the 55.
These buildings would be the same height, but fit 4 floors.
Right, they're just using and I think at the time, I think it was because of fire apparatus at that time when that code was put in to not occupy that upper space. So that could be something I could reconsider for sure. Because we do have the, what's your stick at the Avenue? Is it
102.
102?
So would the appropriate first step in this be to have a public hearing to consider a special permit before deciding whether it goes to the ZBA or not?
Yeah, we'll answer the question of where it has to go for the height variance, but as Ryan said, right now, it's not permitted. It's an allowed use, but so it's a special use permit, so the first step would be to proceed on the special use permit.
Yeah, we should move forward on that.
Well, I'll make a motion to set a public hearing for this particular project.
And refer it to Saratoga County
And referral
Planning.
to Saratoga County Planning Board.
What you got for date?
March 2nd at 7 p.m.
Somebody want to second that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Get into it, though.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Who seconded that?
I think somebody down there. Who seconded it?
I did.
I think Dwayne did.
I made the motion and seconded it.
Intent
So you can do
to,
it again.
intent to accept open space, Loudon Road subdivision, that's for trail connections.
Is this all good property?
I'm not sure where it is.
They're not giving us the cat of nine tails? He's got it up here. It's pretty helpful.
What, you got 2 for it?
Same person?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry, I thought I butted in on you.
Good evening, Scott Lansing with Lansing Engineering, representing Loudon Road Properties.
Good to see you
What we're here for this evening is a property at 293 Loudon Road. It's approximately 31.87 acres. Does include a 14-lot, single-family residential subdivision. But what we're here for with the town board is to see if the board would be willing to declare their intent to accept open space associated with this project. It's something that would be requested in order to obtain a 10% density on the project. This is very similar to several other open space intent requests made to this board. We do have two maps here. I think this map is a good map in that it shows the Edie Road project Phase 1 and Phase 2. It shows the open space along the Bog Meadow Brook with trails that are going into in that area. Also shows Phase 2 where there was a rather large open space area that the town board did declare their intent to accept open space on. What this does is adds open space area to that other open space area and provides an opportunity for trails to go down, basically connecting Loudon Road up to Bog Meadow, up towards the Edie Road area. And usually when we go through these things, we always say, well, it's you have to start a chain with a link and pick up links along the way. And I guess this is something where we picked up a lot of links in a relatively short period of time, and it's actually coming together. So we're here tonight to ask the board's consideration to declare their intent to accept this open space to add on to the other open space along with the trails in that area. That's essentially it. Here for questions and comments, and ask that board's consideration.
That 10%, what does that come out to as far as units?
With this, it would be just one unit.
That's a no-brainer for me. I think we should take it.
You support this? Okay.
This is a nice connection.
Yeah, we've needed this for a while. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for the intent to accept the open space.
I'll second it.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
You got anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Amendment to Chapter 43 of the Wilton Code. I believe that's building code. You here to speak on that, Marcus?
No. Mark Mikens gave this to me. It's just a local law that provides administration and enforcement of the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code and the State Energy Conservation Construction Code. It's just an update.
So we have to set a public hearing for it?
Yes, please.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to set a public hearing for right after the other public hearing.
March 2nd?
Second, 701.
Yeah, sure.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Do we also need a referral to the Citrus County Planning Board?
Right. That's got to be in the motion, referral to
I'll make that
County
motion.
Planning Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
So there we go.
We need a new fuel tank. We need a motion to go and purchase it.
What's this fuel tank for?
Over here.
5,000 gallon tank.
Oh, for highway?
Tank
To
for,
replace
you know,
a 1,000 gallon.
And is this just to go out for bid?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to go out to bid for the fuel tank.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Gavin Park AED Emergency Medical Response Action Plan, you all got it to look at?
Yes.
Did you want to make changes to it, Dwayne?
I do. I'm in the process. Unfortunately, I don't have it ready tonight.
We'll talk about it next month?
Yeah.
Okay.
I only have one question. Do they have an overall medical emergency response plan? Because usually if you have an overall medical emergency response plan, your AED is written into that. To have two separate plans really wouldn't make any sense, so I was going to try to get hold of Mark to see if they have an overall emergency response plan.
I'll check with Nancy, have them.
Yeah, because this could be incorporated all in one umbrella.
Have it all one.
Yeah, so I would like to at least table this until next
All right.
month.
March 2nd?
Sure.
It was just,
We don't need a motion on that, right?
no.
No, it's information.
Appointment, Wilton Planning Board, Jim Deloria, that's why you got off zoning, you go to planning. It'd be first alternate, 2/1/2023 to 12/31/2023.
I'll make a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And Chad Germain to Brett Hebner's vacant position.
I'll make a motion to Chad Jerome.
2/1/23 to 12/31/24. You made a motion, John?
I did.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Same pay, bud. I know you moved up, but it's the same pay.
Yes, you did. Another zero on the other. Or in the front. You can decide where to put it.
It's much more prestigious, though.
Committee reports.
Actually, I just want to bring up one thing. While reviewing the AED policies for the park and in conversation with Wilton Ambulance and different people, it was found out that the 2 defibrillators that's in the park...
That's going to be brought up on the...
Oh, that's under her? Okay.
Yeah.
You told me to bring it up on the committee.
No, you should ask me
first.
You should ask.
Okay, never mind.
All right. Anybody else got anything? You know, there's a very serious problem in this county, drug use. I went to a health meeting a couple of weeks ago, and he told me they did, had Narcan training in Clifton Park. A lot of people came, so we're gonna do it here. You know, that problem's in Clifton Park. I guess what happened, they had like 10 overdoses in a month. And it ain't just Clifton Park, it's all over the county. Wilton has it too, which you're aware of that, Dwayne being in the fire department. So we're gonna do the 18th of February, it'll be a drive-through at Gavin Park from 9 to 12. The county health department will take care of everything, instruct the people how to use it. Only takes a couple minutes. I think it's a great thing we're doing for the residents, and anybody that's on has like a neighborhood Facebook, we will put on our Facebook and what else?
Website and-
Website,
Yeah.
Facebook,
The electronic sign. You can
be in
post
the
it on.
paper, but if you know people, mention it to them. It's only gonna benefit some families. Anybody got anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about getting Lynette a plaque.
Yeah,
Oh, you took care of it? All right. And present it, not next month, but the month after, I believe.
I know we do.
We could probably put that on the sign at the park.
Maybe a commissioner, or maybe they could come and do it.
Yeah,
we'll do it.
Not, it looks pretty busy next month, but maybe the following month, April.
That's what we planned on.
April, okay.
Maria, you want to do the controller's report, please?
Yes, thank you. So the first category is our 2022 budget transfers, and the first item there is that we are moving money from our contingent account, which is a planned activity for our annual merit pay increases. The second item is that we are covering some deficit that happened in the part-time clerk position for additional hours that were necessary for the part-timer to work. The third item is the same kind of condition. We had some additional work that needed to be done, so we're covering deficits in our full-time and part-time categories. And the fourth and final item under the 2022 budget transfers is our dog control. We had a veterinarian invoice that resulted from the accident on the Northway a few months ago, so we want to cover that using available appropriations. So those are our 4 budget transfers.
Somebody want to make a motion for the 2022?
I'll make a motion, we approve 1 through 4.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. The second category is our 2022 budget amendment, and we are increasing our budget for sales tax to cover the seasonal allocation, which happens every year between the highway maintenance, summertime activities, and the highway snow removal winter activities. We're increasing the sales tax for the overtime, excessive overtime that happened. I shouldn't say excessive overtime. That doesn't sound right. The overtime that wasn't budgeted. That's how I'm going to say it, is overtime that wasn't budgeted. So we're just covering the additional cost there. We already have the sales tax revenue that we recorded, so this is not putting a burden on the highway fund.
Somebody want to make a motion on the budget amendment?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. The third category is our 2023 budget transfers. We have an additional activity for the assessors that are being kind of recommended by New York State to send out a second notice for the increase in the eligibility for seniors who are 65 and older. So the assessors need additional postage to meet that notification requirement. The second item is for vehicle maintenance for the senior van, which is not very old, but needs some repair.
Do we know what repair, I'm sorry.
Gas tank.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
What year is that thing?
I think we got it
It ain't that,
16,
Not like it travels installed much.
2016, I think.
Probably 6 years, probably.
Believe it. It's $1,700 for a gas tank?
Don't tell him that.
I'm in the wrong business. Wait, I'm in that business.
Should have brought it to you, right?
The third item is, we had previously in our 2022 budget, increased budget for planned repairs to the historian section of the senior building. However, the year finished and those repairs were not done because we needed more time to get quotes and to prepare for whatever repairs we wanted to do. So now we're going to increase the 2023 budget instead. And those are our 3 items under budget transfers for
somebody
2023.
want to make a motion for those 2023 budget transfers?
We'll move the 3 budget transfers.
Second?
Out of salaries.
I'll second it.
Maria, why in items 2 and 3 does it say salaries appointed full-time? Under buildings, town hall.
Are you on the 2022 budget transfers?
Yeah.
Okay, on the
23.
item,
Sorry, 2023, sorry, item 3.
item 3 on
Items 2 and 3. Under description, it says buildings, town hall, and then underneath salaries appointed full-time
Right.
on item 2 and 3.
right, that's where the money's coming from to fund the necessary expenditures on the.
Well, that's the from and to.
Right.
Gotcha.
Boy,
So those
town
budget
hall's
transfers are
getting beat.
just simply reallocating expenditures from where there is surplus to where there's a deficit to cover it. So we're not increasing the budget, we're just using what we already have.
So we're taking money from salaries, is that what it is?
We are, because we budgeted in 2023, we budgeted for an item that has not been filled yet. So we have money there.
What if we fill that item?
This is just a small portion of the total.
Oh.
This is like January.
As long as they don't break another gas tank, we're good.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second? Yes?
Must be gold line.
We have a motion to accept the transfers?
We had a second. I don't know if we did it all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. So the fourth item on the backside is 2023 budget amendments. So the first 2 categories relate to the same thing. What we're doing is funding a capital projects fund with monies that come from the general fund. So that's why you see it on 2 lines, but it's for the same expenditure. So the total is only $16,000. It's just moving from the general fund to the capital projects fund. This is for a feasibility study for the expansion of town hall.
I called you all on that, and this, and maybe the senior building.
Okay, so the third item under there, actually items 3, 4, and 5, all relate to ARPA spending. We had last year had a town board decision to have $100,000 allocated to not-for-profit assistance using ARPA money. We expended only $90,000. We had 2 additional applications that came in, so with items 3 and 4, we are rounding out our full $100,000 allocation for $5,000 to Saratoga Center for the Family and $5,000 for the Maple Avenue Volunteer FD. The 5th item is the same concept. The board had made a motion to give $200,000 to the Rebuilding Together Saratoga, and we received the application and the contract and everything happened in 2023. So instead of spending the money in 2022 with the budget closing on that, we're actually asking to increase the budget in 2023 for that. The 6th item is for the 2 AED units that Dwayne started talking about for the Gavin Park. The units are old. There are units there, but they're old and they're not compatible with current systems.
How many are there on the, so we're putting 2 in at the same time, so they're going to both expire at the same time?
Yeah. But the new ones are the Zolls, that it's compatible with fire, EMS. Everybody in the area uses Zolls now. and I'm trying to think of the name of the old ones. They were Heart Start something or others, and they're non-compatible. So this way, if you have a cardiac arrest, the Park Start
Just trying
CPR.
to keep things.
You can transfer.
Right.
I just figured if we
Yeah.
stagger it, but if there's only two, there's no way to stagger it.
Well, it might be better replaced with the same time.
What we can do is, we have, I believe, 4 here in the town hall complex. You could rotate
Yeah, I think that's, we gotta get
a
them
couple
so
from
that.
here down to
yeah.
there and put a new one up here and keep a new one down there.
Yeah, I think that's the best way.
Yeah.
So we're not.
Okay, thank you. And then the last item for the 2023 budget amendments is highway machinery, and I want to congratulate Michael Monroe for doing an outstanding job in budgeting for the 3 pieces of major equipment that he did for 2023, which are now purchased, but waiting to, actually 2 of them are waiting to be received. We did receive one. This $12,000 represents the increase in cost for all 3 aggregate. So it's not just for one piece of equipment that, oops, we miscalculated. I think it took a lot of research and, kind of dedication to
Yeah, normally that number's a lot higher.
Yes, that's right, even for one piece of equipment, right, so this is on all 3, so kudos, yes.
What do we buy anyway?
Somebody want to make a motion to accept the budget amendments?
I just have one quick question on the Rebuilding Together Saratoga.
Yes.
Who from the town is going to monitor how that
Maria.
money is spent?
Maria.
Yes.
And who it's going to, and that it's the town of Wilton?
So-
Are people applying?
Michelle, yes, so Michelle,
Larkin.
Yes, thank you. I just drew a blank. Michelle Larkin at Rebuilding Together Saratoga has a waiting list of Wilton Town residents, and she is going to start projects and then submit them to us, and so it will be on a reimbursement basis where we review what was done and make sure that, it fulfills the grant requirements, and then submit reimbursement after that.
How are they prioritized?
I believe that they're prioritized based on waiting list. Small projects, the goal was to get as many projects out of the $200,000, so they're focused on smaller items like hot water tank type things, not so much big projects, because then that eats up more money. Like, so if somebody needed a new roof, that might not be something that gets done, but a roof repair, a smaller amount might get.
And that's being inspected by our guys, right?
It would have to be.
Right. Anything that,
Oh, yeah, it's on the way.
regardless of what the project is, it needs to be inspected.
Is there a committee that makes that decision as to who gets?
Well, somebody got my aunt not that long ago, and they claimed that they put a roof on her place, and I went over there, that nothing was done. So nothing got
Is there
inspected,
a
but
committee that makes those decisions?
We questioned her on that too.
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not sure if it's one person or if it's a committee.
because she got bumped off the list and her roof was still broken.
Rebuilding Together, Saratoga's been around for a long
Yes.
time.
They are a great organization.
They are,
Yeah.
and they have a board of directors, they have a professional staff that oversees and makes decisions about which projects are appropriate, budgeting them. There are people in the private sector, some of the local builders. Kodiak Construction here has done a lot of work with them, some of it pro bono.
Yeah, a lot of them do volunteer their time.
I just want, if anybody asks about how that was spent, I just want to have answers, that there is oversight.
Yes.
I make a motion, we approve the 2023 budget amendments.
Second. All in favor?
1 through 7.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Fifth and final item is related to personnel issues. So the first one is Josh Carlson, who is our land use administrator, was hired in December of 2019 as a, I just lost my word again, provisional hire, pending passing an exam, which finally the exam was offered, and of course Josh passed. And so now we just need to appoint Josh as in a permanent position.
I'll make a motion to appoint Josh to a permanent position as land use administrator.
So he has to serve a probationary period?
Yes, he will be
So-
serving a one-year probationary period.
His temporary service here didn't count as his probationary period?
No.
No, unfortunately.
That's too bad.
Yes.
He was on double secret probation.
Second on that?
Excellent.
Second.
He's a good guy.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, this next one.
Carried.
And then the second and final item under personnel is
Put those
New
in
York
the
State
minutes.
Town Clerks Association regional meeting is going to be held from March 12th to March 13th in Clayton, New York, and it requires overnight travel, and so board permission is requested.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
You
it.
sure?
Yeah, she's taking me with her.
She wants to get out of Dodge.
Yeah, I can't blame her.
Always wanted to go to Clinton, New York.
Oh, wait, that's where it is? You
Just
didn't tell
want
me
to
that.
get closer to
All
the
in
Canadian
favor?
border.
I think Sing Sing's more appropriate.
Carried. Anybody got anything else? Michael, I'd like to thank you and your crew. The last few snowstorms, done a wonderful job.
Did we get the road pre-treater? Has that not come yet?
No.
Maybe the end of 2023 or in 124.
Okay, because we had approved that last one?
Right.
Okay.
Usually, anything you buy, it's taking you 2 years to get it.
Oh, I know. Listen, when am I going to smash
Waiting
your
for
truck
overhead
last
doors.
Thursday? I have no idea when
Like
we're
buying a
another
new
one.
pickup truck.
Somebody want to make,
So moved.
second? All in favor? Carried. Thank you all.
Did you see it? And on the-
Paper, internet, news. Yeah. Luckily, it didn't mention